If we take a look around our house or when we're out and about, we see lines everywhere. We see straight lines, curvy lines, and that's what today's art class is about, creating an artwork just using lines. For today's art class, the materials that you will need to use is a thick piece of paper. I've just used a piece of my watercolour paper that I usually use. Some sort of sketchbook or a piece of art paper, visual arts diary. You can pick those up. This green one that I've got here is a new one. It was $5. It's got reasonably thick paper in it. I'm not sure how paint will work on this, but I'll use this for doing the drawing part of my lesson that I'm showing you today. You'll also need a piece of charcoal. Charcoal is lovely, fun stuff to use, but it does get messy and it does rub against other paper and it leaves a mark. So sometimes you can spray over the top of it, setting it with hairspray. You need some pencils, a variety of pencils or just one pencil. You need a paintbrush, and we're using a straight paintbrush today, an acrylic paintbrush. You can use whatever size, but we'll probably stick with a smaller size one today for the artwork that we're doing. You need some acrylic paints, and I've used a couple of blues, a yellow and a white. You definitely need white and yellow and at least one blue. These were quite thick ones to use. You can use a ruler when you're experimenting with your lines. You need a paint palette to put our acrylic paints on. And of course we need some water. We're going to clean our paintbrushes in the water but not mix the paint with the water. We want nice thick paint. And we need a couple of items to create a still life of which we're going to draw. So we're going to set that up. You can set up your own. Here is an image that you can use. You can press pause if you like. Now what we're going to do is, without looking at our paper, we are going to draw that still life using one continuous line. We're going to look at the shapes that are in the items of our still life. We're going to look where the shadows are, where the light is, and we're going to just use a pencil with our hand over the top, because that helps us create different thicknesses of pencils. It's a great way of holding the pencil when you are getting all arty and drawing. Remember, don't look and don't lift your pencil. Just keep your eyes on the still life only, and that creates an amazing image. It's not a perfect image, but it's a very, very interesting image. And there, it's finished. It's always fun to write the date on a piece of your work. It makes you feel a bit more like an artist, I think. So there we have our finished continuous line still life drawing. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're just going to experiment with the charcoal. Now, as I said before, charcoal is very messy, like super messy, but it's great fun to use. You will have it all over your hands by the time you're finished with it, and just be careful not to smudge your hand in your work. That's one thing to be very aware of when you're using it. And here I'm showing you how to hold your pencil. You put your hand over the top of it, and that helps have more control over your lines that you're drawing. So with charcoal today, I thought it would be fun to just experiment and to play with it. We're going to show a bit of movement. So we're going to press thickly and we're going to taper that line out. And that kind of shows flow and movement. Then there's other ways that you can use your charcoal. It's a really great medium. It's fun to sketch in, really fun to sketch in. You can draw dark lines. You can lighten your pressing down of the charcoal and create lighter lines. So here I'm pressing really dark and then just pressing lighter and lighter and lighter. And another great thing that charcoal can do is it can smudge and create like blurred edges, which is a really fun way to use it as well. And you do that just by rubbing your finger into it. And you can do all different sorts of lines. You can do like wriggly, curvy lines. You can create closed lines. Here I'm just creating a circle and just showing you how you can shade. And all I did was press dark on the outside and press lighter on the inside and smudged it. I then decided to do the still life the same as what we did with the pencil. So that just involves not looking at your paper, just using your charcoal, same grip over the top. You put your hand over the top of it and that helps you control it a bit better. So I'm not looking at my paper at all, I'm just looking at the still life that was set up before. And it looks a bit wonky, but you have to remember we're not looking at our paper. So it creates a very interesting looking piece. It's kind of like an abstract piece, really. We could even go over the top of that with watercolor. And there we have all the different ways that you can use charcoal. I'd love for you, if you like, to pause the video now and you can just experiment a little bit more with charcoal. Try different shadings, try creating different lines, different patterns, but just remember that charcoal is super messy and you might like to get someone older if you're a child, or just if you're an adult, just spray over the top of it with a bit of hairspray in a well ventilated area, and that sets the charcoal. And here we have the finished page with all the charcoal messiness. This is a picture by Vincent Van Gogh. It was painted in 1889, and he uses lovely lines when he draws, when he paints. He was a post-impressionist, and this is the close-up of what we're doing today, so you can press pause here and have a good look, or you can keep continuing on to the class. So I've popped a few colours into the paint palette. I've added just a touch of black and a touch of this kind of, it's called bronze yellow, I believe. But whatever blues you have, you could pop on your palette. And if you've got a couple of different tones of yellow, you can use that as well. So I'm going to be referring to my picture quite regularly. So that might be another time where you would like to pause the video and have a good look, or there's loads of images of the Starry Night by Vincent Van Gogh on the internet, so you can just have a look at those and maybe zoom in closer to the section that we're going to be painting today. So I have my image right beside me that I'm going to use, and if you look closely you can see all that lovely texture and a little bit of cracking from aging. This is a painting by Vincent Van Gogh, and he used lots of lines in his paintings. So this style of painting is called Impressionism, and I've just zoomed in really close. You don't have to choose this particular part. You can pick any other part of the painting. There's lots of beautiful areas of this painting that you can try a little go at using line with acrylics. So it's pretty much just going to be drawing the moon and just roughly a couple of circles to give me a good guide as to where I'm going to do the different shades of yellow and where the blue comes in. So that's pretty much what I'm going to draw. And remember, this does not have to be perfect. See how I'm holding my pencil? Oops. So I've drawn my simple image, and all I've done is the moon and just one little circle, but I probably didn't even need to do that circle on the outside. And what I'm going to start doing is painting. Now I've got this little paintbrush. It says it's number 6, not quite sure. Anyway, you can see by me holding it up against there, it's not a huge one. Here is a big one. That would give very big lines, but I've decided to use this one. And I'm just going to start mixing my colours straight in. Because the paint texture on his one is really quite thick, I am using no water to mix it in. So we'll just keep on mixing till we get a variety of different colours. Mostly white. There's quite a lot of white in that. to be honest. So I've got a really good mix of yellows, so I'm just going to start mixing and begin painting. When I paint on, I'm just going to use lines. See, even this paintbrush goes quite thick. We could probably have gone a much thinner paintbrush, but anyway, you get the idea. So I'm lashing on loads of different tones of yellow, and the whole point is you don't want to mix perfect colours. You want lovely lines. I'll zoom in a little bit so you can see. Lovely lines that have all these blended colours. And I'm just lightly hopefully you can see that. I think I cut that up a little bit. Just lightly going over. Now that probably could be even a bit thicker. I'm just having fun splashing those lines down. I'll add a little bit more white. Just keep on moving my paintbrush, and as you can see, all I'm doing is just a whole heap of just lines. Nothing else. I'm not shading in anywhere. I'm not colouring in perfectly with the paint. I'm just doing random lines. Add a bit more yellow to it. And from those lines, add a bit of white in there as well. Maybe a bit of that darker colour. Okay, I'll hold that up so you can see that. From those lines, I've created the moon shape. And it's not perfect by any means. I can see down here I might need to add a little bit more, which is what I'll do. And then the rest of the painting, you continue a very similar line. So there's loads of white added to the next layer. Let's have a look and see that. See, much more white in those. I might need to put more white out. So that's to create light. Now, it's probably a good idea if you left this to dry a little bit, but, you know, being impatient, I want to get this painting finished. So I'm kind of just adding loads of white, and you can see that there's a contrast in those two. There's the moon shape, and then there's the light. And what I want to try and do with the lines with the light is create a circular movement of the light around the moon shape. So I might need to add a little bit more white, but what I'm going to do is leave this with you. You can pause the video and continue doing your moon, and what you'll do when you get to the blue part, you'll slowly add just slowly add little strokes of blue and yellow. I'll show you that close up. See how it's slowly blending in the blue with the yellow. Even over here, he's begun to blend that blue in. So that's upside down. I'll turn it up the right way. So have fun doing your lines of thick acrylic, creating lots of lovely texture. And I'll come back to you when I've finished my painting. Now, we all know that when you mix blue and yellow together, it creates green, and I've noticed that I've created a little bit of green there, so I'm going to stop painting the yellow and the blue together, and I'm just going to work on some of the blue. So I'm going to mix some blue with some white and paint around there, and then mix less white in with the blues and paint a bit further around. And then what I will do afterwards is come in with the yellow colour to create where that blends together. So I'll get a bit of blue painted here, and remember, we're not totally mixing perfectly. We're mixing so there's streaks. Can you see that? We want streaks of colour to come through. Oh, I like that blue better, if I'm truthful. So I'm just going to paint all different blues around there, and then later I'm going to come in over the top with the green. Not the green, the yellow. I've got green on the brain now. I want to create a little bit more. Maybe even a bit more white in that. Oh, that's a big blob. And just kind of get darker and darker. Can you see that? As we go outside, we'll just get darker and darker until eventually, now that's the goal, that's how I want it to look. So I'm just going to do that sort of painting all around, but remembering, you know, mix the colours. We don't want solid colours. We want these lovely streaks to happen where in one stroke we've got a bit of white, a bit of mid blue and a bit of the darker blue. That's what we want to create all the way around the painting. And see how I've lathered that paint up. Lots of lovely texture. You don't have to use all the same brand paints. You can mix a variety of paints. These paints that I'm using are very thick ones. So I like using thick ones. You might like using thinner ones. If you use thinner acrylics, what's going to happen is it's not going to keep that lovely textured look as well. The thinner ones tend to spread out a bit. So you're better off using thick ones if you can. But you can use thinner ones. It just won't look so textured, that's all. So I'm just going to keep on painting, remembering I'm going dark on the outside and remembering that I'm going to add some yellow in there afterwards. So I'll leave that with you and come back after I've painted a bit more. Okay, now this isn't totally dry, but I'm just going to mix some yellow with some white. And you can see there's a little bit of blue in there, but I'll try and get rid of that. Remember, I'm not mixing an exact colour. I'm just having all those colours kind of swirling into each other. I'm just going to go over, and if I get too much blue on my paintbrush, I'm just going to wipe that off. So creating lots of lovely texture, getting rid of the blue, putting a bit more on. Oops, probably need a bit more white on that. Wipe the blue off and do a bit more. Wipe the blue off. Just keep on doing that. It's creating all this lovely rich texture, which is gorgeous. Okay, I feel like I'm just about done here. It's kind of given the perfect texture that I wanted, showing different shadings of the yellows with the whites and then the blues, how they've blended together. Alright, I hope you have enjoyed watching the art class today. I would love to hear from you. Don't forget I have a Facebook page where you can join in. It's called Free Art Class, and that's where you can post the paintings that you've created from the videos that I make for you. Let me know what you think. If you don't want to miss any more art classes, don't forget to subscribe to my video, and I will see you next time. Bye.